Hello everyone. In this video, what I want to do is to spend a little bit of time talking about pluralism. Pluralism is the theoretical orientation of CICS. It's our modality. It's the way that we think about and learn about how to work with clients. In the world of therapy, there are a number of modalities. Modalities really means a cluster of thoughts and beliefs and approaches that go under a heading, such as psychodynamic, cognitive behavioral therapy, or humanistic approaches. CICS approach is pluralism, and pluralism was an approach that was created by Mick Cooper and John McLeod, published initially, I think, in around 2006. Pluralism is a philosophy as well as a therapeutic approach. As a philosophy, what pluralism says is that one way won't work for everyone. Now, for me, that just makes complete common sense. I can't see how one way would work for everyone in anything. So one form of massage or one form of talking therapy or one type of food just doesn't work for everyone. So what pluralism does when it's translated then into an approach to therapy is it takes the view that if one thing won't work for everyone, many of the modalities may have of value for someone in therapy. So what we need to do is to learn multiple ways to work with our clients so that we can adapt to the unique individual who's in front of us and offer them a range of approaches and perspectives that could work for them. Now, that doesn't mean a pick and mix approach, which would really be described as eclectic. Pluralism is a coherent philosophy of therapy. It takes the person-centered beliefs of the client being the expert on themselves and the client being the center of the therapeutic work and the therapeutic alliance being crucial to all therapeutic work. It's based on those Rogerian core conditions of person-centered therapy, but then it goes beyond person-centered therapy in as much as it thinks about client outcomes and goal orientation, and the therapist and the client working as co-collaborators to achieve a change for the client. So what that means in reality then in therapy work and in our specific context of sex and relationship therapy is that we're going to teach you what works for clients with multiple different ways of approaching them depending on the client's preferences. So in sex therapy, for example, there are multiple cognitive and behavioral therapy type approaches. We are not short of a therapy program in sex therapy, a kind of behavioral program in sex therapy. Now at CICS, we'll teach all of these varieties of behavioral approaches, which are very CBT-like, but they're in the context of relational work with our clients, which is very humanistic. We teach our students to not do programs at their clients. We are choosing approaches that fit with the individual or individuals who are in front of us in that specific therapeutic piece of work. So although there's a cognitive behavioral flavor to many sex therapy approaches, it's not just CBT. When we think about our intimate partner therapy training, just something we focus on in our certificate course in intimate partner therapy and also in the second year of our diploma in clinical sexology and relationship therapy, we're thinking probably more along psychodynamic lines. How did we develop our attachment style? How did our past and our parenting influence the way we relate in the here and now? We're also thinking about the here and now, not just the past and how it influences us, which is a big focus of psychodynamic therapy, but thinking about the specific dynamics between the two human beings in a relationship or people who are multiple partnered. So at CICS, we don't structure our training around letting our students know what CBT therapists would do in this instance and what a psychodynamic therapist would do in this instance. We don't break it down in that way. We present and teach our students a coherent set of approaches that can be adapted to multiple clients with their preferences and in alignment with the therapist's preferences, which is pluralism, a coherent philosophy that translates into a structured approach, allowing for variability and flexibility in therapy approaches to client work based on the therapeutic alliance, adult to adult relating, and respect. So that's our modality and our approach. It isn't eclecticism, which is a pick and mix with no coherent underpinning philosophy. And it isn't actually integrative therapy either. Integrative therapy is often used to mean pluralism, when really integrative therapy trainings are typically teaching 2, 3, or 4 different modalities so that the therapists have a flexibility in their approach, which isn't the same as having a range of approaches that fit a fundamental structure of a philosophy of pluralism. We're not claiming any sort of supremacy over integrative. It's just about a clarity of what those 2 different terms mean, pluralism and integrative. So the other thing to say about our modality at CICS, and after clarifying somewhat what pluralism means, is that in the context of sex and relationship therapy, we also need to think in a bio-psycho-social way. So we have our pluralism way of thinking about formulating, understanding case presentations and client experiences, and then selecting appropriate interventions and support for clients. But we also need to overlay that clear understanding of biology, an understanding of individual psychology, and of huge importance, the effect of culture and society on the way we think about sex and relationships. So some psychosexual problems are entirely caused by a biological problem, an illness or a disease. So then in sex therapy, we're working with the client to adapt to that loss or change. Some psychosexual problems and relationship problems are created by the way a person is thinking about a thing. So the impact of anxiety, performance anxiety, distress, and so on, or beliefs around sex and relationships. And some psychosexual and relationship problems are fundamentally embedded in the way our culture thinks about sex and relationships. So we really enjoy unpacking received wisdoms and societal norms at CICS. Break all of that down. Let's think about all of these things that we assume we want to need and should have in society, like a long-term relationship, like monogamous relationships, like heterosexuality. Let's think about the so-called norms and unpack them. So our theoretical orientation at CICS is pluralism, embedded in the work of Mick Cooper and John McLeod, very established set of experts looking at multiple ways of creating change with clients. And it's also, as sex and relationship therapists, very strongly embedded in an understanding of biology, individual psychology, and that significant impact of society on people's sex and relationship lives. So that's how we do things here. I hope that's helpful.